Then one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls or vials came and talked with me, saying to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters." Now, I remember emphasizing to you that it was important that you understood the context, that you understood what the angel was showing to John. Very important. See, he says, I want to show you the judgment. What does he want to show John? The judgment of the great harlot, the whore in KJV. The great harlot who sits on many waters. Notice again, he says, I want to show you the judgment of the harlot or the whore that sits on many waters. I want to show you the judgment. Recognize the focus. Okay, get the context. What's the subject? It says, it is about the judgment of the great harlot that sits on many waters. That's what he wants to show John. But then he takes him away in the spirit and begins to give him some details. Okay? So remember the subject. Okay, verse 2. It says, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of a fornication. And I said to you, if you understand Bible prophecy in prophetic language, you would know he's dealing with religion here. He's dealing with the, what we call spiritual harlotry, where instead of serving God, you're serving other gods, whereas you're supposed to be connected to God. Okay? So, next verse. No, let's go to verse 2 again. With whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of our fornication. Verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman. Now, this is in the vision. He's not talking about the same woman as I explained to you yesterday, but he's showing him something of the same subject. Okay? So, he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. In fact, there are some who, misunderstanding this verse, thought that it's the woman that's sitting on the scarlet beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns. And that's ridiculous, because that's not what it's talking about at all. If you were to go on with the several verses, it'll be very easy to understand what he's focusing on. All right, verse 3. So let's look at it again. He takes John away in the spirit and shows him a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, a red beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. And on her head, this woman's head, this woman that's sitting on the beast. Not the woman sitting on the waters, the woman sitting on the beast. This is in a vision. And on her forehead, a name was written. Mystery. Mystery. So there's a mystery here. Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. Wow. He says, this woman that's sitting on the beast is the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Listen, remember the purpose of this vision. He says, I want to show you the judgment of the woman sitting on the waters. The great whore. The harlot sitting on the waters. I want to show you the judgment of this woman on the water. He brings him into a vision. Shows him a mystery. He says, look, on her head is written mystery. Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. Okay, go on. I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. And I told you why John was so stunned, because he knew about this, but didn't know who it was. Didn't realize how real this Grecian or Greek mythology really was. He just realized he'd been hearing a story. And now he saw there was something to it. That's why he was so amazed. He says, I marveled with great amazement. Next verse. But the angel said to me, why did you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her. Now, notice, he had said, I want to tell you about the woman on the waters. Then he starts showing him a vision. He sees this woman on the beast. He recognizes something. He's so stunned. The angel says, why are you amazed? I'll tell you about it. See, I'll tell you about it. So this is something else now. He says, I'll show you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her. So there's a woman on the water and there's a woman on the beast. These are two different things, but it's the same subject. Same subject, because he wants to show him about the judgment of the woman on the waters. So he says, I'll tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that you saw was and is not, and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. And I explained all this yesterday. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is. Now, this is really, really remarkable. Really remarkable. And I explained this to you yesterday. All right? And I got to telling you from verse 10 how to understand verse 8. All right, go to verse 9. There, it says, here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Look at it. He's not talking about the one on the water now. He's talking about the beast and the woman that rides him. So he says, here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Mystery Babylon sits on 7 mountains. Which mystery Babylon is this? The mystery Babylon, the great harlot, mother of harlots, that's riding the beast. Next verse. There are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen. 1 is, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short time. And I explained this to you, going through the times of the Gentiles. We talked about Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, Greece. 5 have fallen. 1 is Rome. The other is yet to come. The one we refer to as revised Rome. And when we say Rome, we mean the Roman Empire, all right? The Roman Empire. So that's what we're referring to. I want to distinguish between that and something I'm going to say later, which I did say yesterday. So it's important that you understand. Those 5 kings that have fallen are kings over empires. And he says one is. That's the one that was there at the time of John. And I explained that. And the other has not yet come. When he comes, he must continue a short time. Verse 11. The beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th. He is the 8th. And is of the 7. And is going to perdition. That again I explained yesterday to you. So he's got the character of the previous. Okay? He's got that character. But he's the 8th king, meaning that he's going to rule. He's an 8th king, but he belongs to the 7. He belongs to the previous group. So it shows us here's a spirit that's been out there. And the one before John was the Grecian. That means the one before Rome was the Grecian Empire, the Grecian kingdom. And in looking at, I told you about understanding the spirits behind persons, people, actions, nations, activities, and so on and so forth. And I helped you understand the spirit that comes out of the bottomless pit and the spirit that comes from the sea. And I wanted you to be able to relate them with the 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay? Now the one from the sea had 10 crowns. And the one from the bottomless pit, we weren't told he had any crowns. So we go, the beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th and is of the 7. You can get this from yesterday's details. And is going to perdition. Verse 12. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have received no kingdom as yet. But they receive authority for 1 hour as kings with the beast. So they're going to have authority for a short time with the beast. Now here's an interesting thing. I did mention that the beast that's riding, or sorry, the woman that's riding the beast, I wrote there, the woman riding the beast is Europa, Mystery Babylon the Great, according to Revelation 17 verse 5. Europa rides the beast. Who is Europa? Europe. You say, why? Very simple. Even today, Europa is Europe. But here's something you need to understand that's very, very clear from the scriptures. He told us about the Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Let's show you that structure again. He had this dream that scared him. The head of gold. And Daniel interpreted this vision to him, this dream to him, that the head of gold was the Babylonian kingdom, and said, but you are that king. So we have his name there. He said, after you will arise another one. And so that's a weaker kingdom, silver. Then after that, you have Greece. After that, it says there will be a very strong one that will break others in pieces. He says, and that's Rome. These are the explanations that Daniel gave him from the revelations of God. Then he said, you also saw the man's feet, a mixture of iron and clay. Remember that, a mixture of iron and clay. And so he said, because it's a mixture of iron and clay, they cannot be put together. They will never come together. They will never adhere together. So, it says, as iron cannot be mixed with clay. This is how these ones are. I have something I'll show you. Interesting. So, eventually, this is chapter 2 in the book of Daniel. And you start reading the interpretation of this part from verse 36 down, you'll see some beautiful stuff. But then in chapter 7, Daniel himself now had his own revelation. And in that revelation, it's amazing what God showed him. I'll go to the interpretation of the revelation or the dream, the vision that was given to Daniel. So go to chapter 7. We'll start reading from verse 22. Until now, I don't want to go to this yet. I'll bring this to you when we get into maybe the latter chapters of Revelation. Go to verse 23. Let's leave this part. 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast. So he had 4 beasts that he saw in the vision. Just like Nebuchadnezzar had these dreams. He had 4 beasts. He explained the first one, the second one, the third one. He comes to the 4th beast. And he says, the 4th beast shall be a 4th kingdom on earth. I want you to listen carefully. The 4th beast shall be a 4th kingdom on earth. So the 4th one, first Babylon, 2nd Persia, 3rd Greece. In fact, what he saw was, he says, the first one, he saw a lion. Then he saw a bear. Then he saw a leopard. Okay? Then he got to this 4th beast. He says, it was different from all the others. And shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it in pieces. Next. The 10 horns are 10 kings. Notice, this is very, very important. When you remember in studying the Bible, you remember the giants. The giant had 6 fingers, 6 toes, 6 fingers on one hand. On either hand, he had 6 fingers. And on either of his feet, he had 6 toes. Now, I said that for a reason. The Bible doesn't tell us that this Nebuchadnezzar's dream, that the man had 10 toes. The Bible doesn't say so. The Bible says his feet had a mixture of iron and clay. Doesn't tell us that he had 10 toes. So it's not right if we assume that he had 10 toes. So he doesn't even divide for us how many nations, how many of them were clay and how many of them were iron. All right? Just a mixture of iron and clay. Now, why that is important is all through Bible expositors' works, you'd find a lot of people have tried to see where they can get these 10. That must be 10. Whether it's the EU, then they didn't get 10. So they wondered, how come it's not 10 nations? What I want you to remember is, he didn't say it was made up of 10 toes. No. That's not the message he tried to pass across. He didn't say so. And when Daniel had his own vision in chapter 7, I'll show you the language in a second. So it will help you to understand it even better. Okay, so let's go. Maybe I should read the earlier part, then we'll come back here so you'll have both. Daniel chapter 7, go to verse 4. We can start from verse 4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I watched till its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And suddenly another beast, a second, like a bear. It was raised up on one side and had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And they said thus to it, arise, devour much flesh. After this I looked, and there was another, like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and I did explain that, okay? And dominion was given to it. After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong. It had huge iron teeth. It was devouring, breaking in pieces, and trampling the residue with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Notice that. It had 10 horns. Now, watch. What does this mean when it says it had 10 horns? It's a beast. The others, the Bible doesn't tell us the others had any horns. But they were kingdoms anyway. So here he says it had 10 horns. That was the dream. Now the angel comes and explains to him what he saw. Remember, the interpretation is always what matters. Not how the man saw what he saw. What's the interpretation? What's the language of the interpretation? Always remember that. So we go back to chapter 7, verse 23, where we pick up on this 4th beast. Then thus he said, the 4th beast shall be a 4th kingdom on earth, which shall be different from all other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it in pieces. The 10 horns are 10 kings who shall arise from this kingdom. Look at it. It didn't say the 10 horns are 10 kings that make up this kingdom. I want you to look at the language very carefully. It is very important. It is the interpretation that matters. What did the angel interpret this to be? He said, Daniel, the 10 horns that you saw are 10 kings that shall arise from this kingdom, from this 4th kingdom, this 4th and strongest kingdom of them all. He says, there are 10 kings that shall arise from this kingdom. Which kingdom is this? Rome. This is Rome. These 10 kings shall arise from Rome. Look at it. It's there. The 10 horns are 10 kings who shall arise from this kingdom. So these 10 kings shall arise from Rome. And where did Rome cover? Europe. Of course, there's part of North Africa. We know that. There's little here and there. But the major places are in Europe. So the 10 kings will come from Europe. So that completely, I told you I wanted to stay in taking you through this. This is just the first part. We go, we'll speed read, go through, pick up a few things here and there. Then there are other details, okay? And we start bringing out for you and explaining why they are the way they are. Why do we say this is it or that is it? So it's important, because some think, 10 kings might come from, they think, the Antichrist might come from the Middle East. Oh, he might come from someplace else. Or, first, what does the Bible say? The 10 horns are 10 kings who shall arise from this kingdom, this fourth kingdom. Period. Then watch. And another shall rise after them. He shall be different from the first ones, and shall subdue 3 kings. Watch. And what's he going to do? He shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and laws. NKJV says law. Then the saints shall be given into his hand. The saints shall be given into his hand. That means he'll overpower them. And for a time and times and half a time. That's 3.5 years. So that tells you that's when that man metamorphoses into the Antichrist, the second 3.5 years of the 7-year treaty with Israel. That's what he's talking about. Okay, so fly to Revelation chapter 17. We go back to where we're in verse 12 or somewhere. What verse were we? Okay. We were in 10. Okay. I don't know. We got to 11, I think. Go to verse 11. The beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th and is of the 7th and is going to perdition. Yeah. 12. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings. Good. Watch now. Same ones who have received no kingdom as yet, but they receive authority for 1 hour as kings with the beast. And that's where I said something to you yesterday. I said, just an observation. I said, just an observation. An interesting observation. Glory, glory. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Just need to give you something. Christ is coming, the King of glory. No more sorrow, no more weeping. Tell the story among the nations. Christ is coming. By and by, Christ is coming, the King of glory. No more sorrow, no more weeping. Tell the story among the nations. Christ is coming by and by. Now, in the original dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, there was something very interesting that he saw, in which Daniel pointed out to him, because, as you remember, he actually forgot the dream, and it was Daniel who, by the Spirit, brought out the dream to him, and he said, yeah, that's it. So I want to show you something significant. Daniel chapter 2. I read to you from verse 41, because I told you something yesterday, an observation worth noting, just worth noting. Whereas you saw the feet and toes partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. He's letting him know now the last kingdom that comes after Rome. Okay? That kingdom hasn't come yet. In other words, it hasn't taken over the world. It hasn't become a world power, because what he's telling him here is about world powers. All right? A kingdom that dominates the world, at least, like you say, most of the world, becomes most dominant. All right? Especially in dealing with Israel. That's important because there's a focus there. All right. So he says, whereas you saw, he's come to the feet now. He's talked about the head of gold, the chest and arms of silver, the loins and thighs of bronze, and then the legs of iron. So he comes to the feet. Whereas you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. Yet the strength of the iron shall be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. Interesting. Listen to this. Listen to this. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron. No, he's gone back. Go to verse 43. This is the one I want you to notice. This verse 43. Very, very striking. And as you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay. I think NKJV is trying to get you to understand in today's language, introducing ceramic there, okay? As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. Do you know what he just said? What he just said is so important. Do you know what he just said? I'm going to read it again. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men. Did you notice that line? Several don't get it because they overlook that line, as important as it is. Looks like a digression, but no, he's giving you a clue. He's giving you a clue. Now, do you have something like, it's originally in Aramaic. The book of Daniel was written in Aramaic, not Hebrew. Do you have something like Jerusalem Bible? If you do have that one, I'm trying to get you. I want to read you something that may help you. Or Complete Jewish Bible. Do you have the Complete Jewish Bible? The CJB. That one is easy to get. Anybody's got it? Here? You have it? All right. The good Complete Jewish Bible. Now, I'll read it to you, then you can put it on the screen. I'll just dictate it for you. So you put it on the screen. It says, you saw the iron mixed with clay. That means that they will cement their alliances by intermarriages. See, that's the point I want you to see. But they won't stick together any more than iron blends with clay. So you can just write it down for yourself. I'll do it again. It says, you saw the iron mixed with clay. That means that they will cement their alliances by intermarriages, but they won't stick together any more than iron blends with clay. What is this telling you? Look at the history of Europe and the monarchies of Europe. You'll find intermarriages. They tried several years because there was no unity among these countries. And what did the monarchs do? Exchanging their daughters and their sons and trying to get married into this family in that other country. And you find it's intermarriages to unite them. But that will never unite them. That's what the Word of God says. So that's why the observation I said, I pointed out to you, is very important. Because it's not the political leaders, okay, that are doing these intermarriages. It's the monarchs. So it looks like that's where to look at. Because he gave you a clue. He gave you a clue. Like, that's where to look at. What an important clue. He told you they will try to cement their alliances through intermarriages. And he didn't say just for a time. No, it's been on. That's what's been happening till the present day. And then I said, look there properly, and you'll find there are 10 monarchs there now. We have 10 monarchies in Europe right now. And for that, it's only an observation. I'm just pointing out to you as an observation. That is an observation. An observation. That's a curious observation. Worth noting. I have not said anything about that yet. All right. Go back to Revelation chapter 17. We're in verse 12. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have received no kingdom as yet, as at that time. But they receive authority for 1 hour as kings with the beast. Okay? These are of one mind. Interesting. And they will give their power and authority to the beast. They will give their power and their authority to the beasts. That's what's going to happen. In fact, there's an area which some other time I'll try to explain to you, because it talks about overpowering 3, and then think of it. If he overpowers 3 out of 10, they become 7. Then what happens? He gets in, he's the 8th. Significant mystery. But let's go. These are of one mind, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. These will make war with the Lamb. And the Lamb will overcome them, for he is... Oh, this is nice. I thought it was something... I wanted to skip it, but just a side talk that's important. You'd like to know it. These will make war with the Lamb. And I told you, when you see Lamb, it's talking about Jesus. And the Lamb will overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And those who are with him are... These terms are never used for angels. Called, chosen and faithful. That's another scripture yet again that tells you we're going to be coming with Jesus Christ when he comes rather than going to meet him. We're coming with him. Look at it. They're going to make war with Jesus at the Armageddon. I only told you about the Armageddon being on. I've not told you what happens inside the Armageddon. We'll get to that one. So, this will make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And the only time he gets that banner on him, okay, he has this vesture on, has that banner on him, written on it is King of kings, Lord of lords. It's when he's coming out of heaven at the second advent. And now, he says, those who are with him, talking about us, are called, chosen, and faithful. Blessed be God. Hallelujah.